What's up everyone, welcome back. Before the video really starts, I want to mention this video was filmed at the same time as me putting on the hood and bumper. So if you see some inconsistencies in the timeline, it's because I was putting together the headlights at the same time that I was doing the front end rebuild. Also, if you want more updates or like behind the scenes stuff, follow my Instagram at SRT8. That is the place to go. But I'm going to send you guys into the video. Welcome back to the build series. Today we're putting the headlights on. Now these are basically the factory style headlights with a black housing and clear side markers, as compared to my old headlights from the V6 with orange side markers. Now yes, I could have just reused these, but they're almost 20 years old as the original headlights, and they've got some scuffing and scratching on them. So I'd rather just start fresh with a new pair. Now that's not all for these headlights. I'll also be disassembling the housing to install this custom halo kit. Now this kit gives you 3 different halos. One for each turn signal, one for the middle light, and one for the outer light, along with a remote and wiring so you can change the colors. So here's how they'll kind of look laid out, and as you can see, they'll fit up just like that, with the small halos over the turn signal, medium halo, and then large halo. Now also included in this kit is a simple RGB controller for controlling the lights and some other settings. Now there are more advanced and expensive controller options for this kit, including ones that are Bluetooth or ones that have more buttons on them. But I didn't see a need for any of those, so I just went for the simple one. Now I have made fun of cars with RGB lights in the past. However, that's in the sense of them plastering all kinds of RGB stuff over their car and just completely erasing it out. I really just got this kit for 1 or 2 colors, meaning most of the buttons on this controller won't even be used. Now the first step in installing these halos into this headlight housing is you need to get the housing cover off. Now as you can see, there's some clips here that hold it on, but it's also glued. Now what you need to do to get the housing off, and this is included in the install video online, is you need to bake your headlights in the oven. So the directions said to bake them at 255 for 8 to 10 minutes. I found a couple other sources that said 225. So I'm just gonna put them in at about 235 for about 7 minutes. I'd rather do it a little too less than too much. All right, let's see if these are ready. All right, so now if the glue is melted, all we have to do is just take a flathead or something and just peel these tabs back. All right, I'm gonna say it actually needs a little bit more time. The glue's a little bit stuck still, so I'm gonna put it in for maybe 2 to 3 more minutes. All right, so I just did 2 more minutes. I'm gonna pull one out and see how easy it is to take the glue off. So we're gonna remove the clips first, and then we're gonna try prying it open again. I mean, it's slowly starting to come off. I'm just gonna work my way across the top. Yep, there we go. All right, well that's one. That was crazy hard to get off. I might have to bake this other one a bit longer. All right, the second housing was a lot easier to get off. I put it in at 255 for an extra 2 minutes. So if you plan on doing this yourself, I would recommend following the installation guide and doing 255 for 8 to 10 minutes. So the next step is to actually take this black bezel off, and in the video they don't show how to do it, but I see these clips in the corners here. I'm assuming I just have to push them one way or another and then pull it out. All right, so it pretty much just pulled right out. I don't know if the glue was already on there or if it dripped down in when I took the housing off, but there was a bunch of glue on it, but it just pulled away pretty easy. So now I'll do the same to the other side. All right, I've got the other side off, and for now, we don't have to do anything with these, so I'm gonna set these aside. So here we can kind of see better how it's gonna line up. I'll just kind of put these in place for now. The weird thing is the wires are directly wired to the back of this, so it creates kind of this weird bump here. It comes with this adhesive tape that you're supposed to take off, but I heard that they kind of fall off, so I'm gonna be using some better adhesive along with the tape. So the next thing I need to do is kind of line these up and then figure out where to drill the hole for the wire to go through. So on this one, if you line it up, it'll come out, it ends right here. And so the hole will have to be about right there. And that's the one they show on the video, but this one is gonna be a little weirder because the wire comes out on this side and there's really not much room to drill a hole. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with this one because I think it'll be the easiest and kind of give me some practice for the rest. So actually something else I noticed on the install video was that when they pushed this wire through their hole that they drilled, they didn't have this plug on the end. But what I think I'm gonna do is drill a hole big enough for this to slide through, and then I'm gonna wire it with the halos coming through the hole first. So instead of trying to drill a hole that's big enough for this to fit in, I'll drill a hole big enough for this, and that way it's a bit smaller, and then I can kind of just like rotate it in, if that makes sense. And what I'll be using to drill these holes is this rotary tool that I got from Harbor Freight for like 10 bucks, and it comes in a kit with all these bits and stuff. So I just have on this very fine diamond bit, and hopefully it'll drill right through. So this is really because this bit is like, I mean, obviously it's a cheap tool, but it keeps sliding out no matter how much I tighten it. It's in there as deep as it can go. That's what he said. But it's still getting loose. I think I need a different adapter for this actually. All right, so I put a different adapter on it, so it should be a bit tighter around the drill bit. We're gonna try this out. So it fits pretty good. The only thing is the hole is kind of twisting the wires, since the wires want to come out this way, and I've drilled a hole so that it wants to go out that way. I think I'm gonna pull this back out and drill the hole a little more on this side so that the wires can lay more flat, and that way there's not upwards pressure that's wanting to push this up. All right, so here I've just wrapped some black electrical tape over it. It hides it a little bit more, but this looks pretty good for this one. I'm gonna go ahead and do all the rest now. All right, well, I finally got all the holes drilled for this housing. I actually had to do a lot more work with the holes than I thought. For example, this first one, if you can see, I ended up grinding down into the chrome part there just so that the wire actually lays like right in that crevice there, and then the rest will lay flat around. And then with this turn signal one, it was actually pretty interesting because it's a complete circle. It's not like these other ones that are incomplete circles. So the wire actually just comes straight off the bottom like this, and it has a zip tie instead of the heat shrink to hold the wires on better. And so what I did was I kind of made this notch so the zip tie will fit right into this corner right here, and then the wire will just run down through there. So if I put it on, it sits flat around the edge, and then the wire just goes out, and it'll come out through that and pretty much be on the outside of this chrome piece here, and then it'll just wrap around and go up through the back there. Honestly, I am not sure how long that took. It definitely felt pretty long, and now I just have to do it to the other headlight. So I'd say I'm actually ready to glue these halos down. I do need to just clean out this dust real quick. I'll just get it all blown out, and then I'll use the tape on the back of that. And I'll also be using this JB Weld on top of the adhesive tape that's already on there to help stick it down more. All right, so I'm actually pretty nervous for this because the biggest complaint I've heard from this kit is that they have trouble sticking to the back. So obviously I'm gonna use that glue, but I'm also a little worried about getting glue on things that I'm not supposed to get glue on. So this adhesive is actually pretty sticky just by feeling it. I'm just gonna do like some quick, like some just some dots of this gel stuff. All right, so I've got that on. Oh, I really don't want to get this shit all over. All right, flip it over, stick it in there, and then I just need to hold pressure on it for about a minute. All right, it actually set in pretty easily. It feels pretty stable. There's just a tiny gap along this edge here where it wasn't able to contact the bottom, but all the way around this side, it's flat against the bezel there, and it feels pretty sturdy. The only thing I'd be worried about is that glue melting when I put it back in the oven to seal the glue around the covers there. So what I might do is actually just get new sealant and just reseal it and let it dry without having to put it in the oven, because I wouldn't want to put it in the oven and then all my glue melts on the inside and I have a crazy mess and it's just a disaster. So I'm gonna think about that. But I'm gonna go ahead and do these other two lights and hopefully they go smooth. All right, well, I've got all three halos. Lock in, bro. Fuck is you doing? Well, I've got all three halos glued in now. They seem to hold pretty tight. I'm just gonna let them settle and dry while I start working on the other headlight. I don't wanna record too much of this headlight because you guys have already seen kind of the deal, and I wanna turn the heater back on because it's getting cold in here, and I wanna listen to my music, and my batteries are dying, and there's just a lot of reasons. So I'll see you guys when I'm done with this headlight. I think it's been almost 3 or 4 hours since I started working on these, and I'm finally done with at least putting the halos on. Both sets of halos are on each headlight. The glue says it takes about 5 minutes to settle, but then about 24 hours to like fully dry. And I don't really want to risk anything. So I'm gonna let these dry at least for overnight, and then I'm gonna come back and put these bezels back in the housing and kind of route the wiring through the whole headlight. All right, it's been long enough. It's the next day. This glue should be dry by now. It still looks pretty good. The only part where I see it's not making contact is on this one. I don't know if the camera can see it. There, as you can see, that's the only part where the ring is not actually attached to the bezel. I didn't take away enough material here to have the wiring sit more flush with the bezel there. Otherwise, all the other ones are pretty flush. I did a pretty good job with the holes. I noticed there's a lot of smearing, and I think it's just from my fingerprints, but also maybe like some of the glue residue or something. So I'm just gonna take some glass cleaner to it, and then if that doesn't get it off, I'll just use some alcohol. But I'm just gonna clean off the chrome parts real quick, and then we're gonna put these back into the housing. So now I need to figure out how to wire through this housing. So with the turn signal here, it comes out the bottom. So it'll come out out of that bezel around right here. And then I think I can either wire it up around on the inside here and then back through a hole back here with the other two, or maybe I can have it going out a different way. This is the little hole I'll be putting the wires through, at least for these two. So I'll just peel this back and then route these wires through, and hopefully it's somewhat smooth. All right, so unfortunately I wasn't recording. It kind of just happened. Bezel is back into the housing. That actually took way more time than it should have. But I have all three through here. What I ended up doing with the turn signal light, I just had it go through, it's kind of hard to see, but it goes down and under through there. And I actually put some black electrical tape around the wire so you couldn't really see it. It goes through there on the other side and then up between the two and then in. The housing it won't cover it'll kind of cover the wires here, but once you have the headlights like behind the bumper, the only part that sticks out is this part here where it's kind of out more. This back part right here everything behind that you won't be able to see. Pretty much you won't be able to see any of the wiring except for that zip tie there and like the tiny bit of wiring you could see there. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same exact thing to the other headlight. All right, so I've got both bezels put back into the housing with the halos on them. The next thing that I want to do is seal up these holes back here where the wires are, so that no moisture gets in, because that would be really bad. All right, it's the next day. I'm back to the headlights, and I picked up some Flex Seal Ultimate Putty to fill the gap in the back of the housing where the new wires come out. It was actually pretty hard to find this. You just take it out, hand mix it a little bit, and then stick it on, and it should dry. Sticks to plastic, chemical and heat resistant, and seals out water, so 100% waterproof. But we're gonna go ahead and put that on and fill that gap. Alright, so I got the putty around both wires here. It's already starting to harden a bit. It takes about 15 minutes for it to set, and then about 2 days for it to like fully like settle. And then after that, apparently you can like drill it, sand it, whatever. So it seems to be pretty good. I think I got a good amount on there. It should seal it pretty good. All right, so the headlight sealant finally came in. Bought it straight from Oracle, the same place that I bought the Halo kit. What I do have to do before putting on the sealant is to remove the old sealant on the lens, which honestly I should have done before I put the bezels back in. It's just gonna make it a little bit harder, and I'll have to be a bit more careful. But I think the best way to do it is to heat it up with the heat gun and try to scrape it out with a screwdriver. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't take too long. I don't know. All right, so I'd say I'm pretty much done with this housing. I went through another time with the screwdriver and just scraped up the bottom of it, and then another time with the pick. And I think I'm ready to move on. That's a pretty decent amount out. It shouldn't mess with the new sealant at all, but I'm gonna move on to this one now. It's still a little hot and sticky, but after a few seconds it dries off, and I can just either pull it off or scrape it off with the scissors. All right, so I got the housing scraped off. We're moving on to the lens now. And these actually have a little bit more than I thought, but they should honestly be easier to scrape because it's really just scraping against one side here. And if I just go along with the heat gun on one side, scrape it down, it should be done in like 20 minutes max. All right, so I am ready to put the sealant on. I've got it loaded up in my nice little gun here. I'm really nervous about like overfilling the gap, and then when I go to put the lens on, it like just comes out everywhere. We will just take this slow and steady. I actually don't think I did enough in some areas, but I trust that it'll be okay. It looks like I got enough in there to make a good enough seal. And I've got my clamp set on it, but I'm gonna let this sit overnight. It only takes like 3 hours to fully dry, but then it takes like, I think 2 to 3 weeks for it to like fully cure. But I'm gonna put the other lens on, use a little more sealant. That'll be it, and we'll get them wired up to the car. All right, well, I've got both headlight lenses back on. They look pretty much about as I expected them to look. I'm not a huge fan of how you can like see the LEDs. Like I tried finding ones that were like diffused, so it just looked like one like straight light or whatever. But when they're turned on, they should look pretty good. You shouldn't be able to see each individual light, and you really can't tell unless you're up close. All right, so one of my buddies came over. He's helping me wire up the halos now, and as you can see, I have the red option. I can go through different colors, so white, blue, green, Red. I'll mainly be using red and maybe white. I like how that looks. But these are kind of just temporarily wired up right now just so we can kind of test them and figure it out. I went ahead and just ordered some like heat shrink connectors that'll be here tomorrow, and then we can actually install them like more clean, more professional. But one of the things I was worried about was how easy you could see each light, and obviously up close you can see each individual bulb. But if I back up here, like once you're here, it's like it looks pretty consistent and even throughout. So all in all, I'm really happy with how these look so far. And then once the bumper and everything is put back together, I think it'll look really cool. And then with the lights off, this looks even like this looks really cool. And with the bumper, oh, I'm just imagining it now, dude. This will look really good. So yeah, I think I made the right choice with the headlights here. So today's Tuesday, the connectors will come Wednesday, and then I'll be busy tomorrow night, so we'll have to come back on Thursday, put the headlights together, and then I'm finishing the bumper and the hood hopefully on Friday and Saturday to be ready for the meet on Sunday. All right, so my buddy just left. He pretty much wired everything together, all the headlights, so everything's connected. We're just trying to think of a way to connect it to the actual car, because what he brought up was the idea of being able to have the halos on while the car is off, so kind of like on their own separate switch or whatever. But we're thinking about like if there's shows or meets where I want to have the halos on while the car's off, then it has to be wired a little different. So on his GTR that he had a module that was like in his fender, and it connected up to the terminals here, and it had its own separate fuse, so he was able to leave them on when the car was off. However, when he sold his GTR, he was taking out all the aftermarket parts, and he threw that module away with the wires. But he said it might still be in the trash since he hasn't emptied his garage trash since then. So he's gonna run home, check the trash, and if it's there, then we will have a super nice way to wire these in. And if not, then we'll just have to stick to wiring it to the fog lights for now. So I just got back from the store. I picked up some mounting tape for the boxes so I can mount it to like the inside of the engine bay. I got some of these ring terminals because the ground wire is just wrapped around the bolt and I want it a little more professionally done. And then I picked up a bunch of these different sized wire wraps at Harbor Freight earlier. Pretty much I'm gonna wrap everything around in tape to group it together. And then I'll probably end up using this 1/2 inch sized wrap just because of how much wire there will be. And I think I'm just gonna run it up along the backside of the radiator mount because that's where the other harness is. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but there is a lot of wire to clean up. So we'll see how this goes. All right, well, unfortunately my camera died on the little time lapse there because it was like 4 hours long. But I'm done with the organization of the wiring. Pretty much all you can see, and it's not the best, okay, but I've got my fuse and relay tucked under the fuse box. I cut a little notch in this so that this wire can stick out and I can close this. I put the ring connector on that, so that's cleaner, and then I have the control box velcro to the side, and then it just goes down. These are zip tied here, and then this is all wrapped up. I'll have to like cut this down later on, and then I have it's in its own separate like conduit here, and it just runs along the back of this back to here. These boxes are zip tied. wrapped up there, and then it goes into that headlight. So honestly, it's pretty clean for how much wire there is. Unfortunately, green just stopped working. So I can turn it on, I can go red and blue, but green, there's no green. Which means that there's also no orange or yellow because red has to mix with green for that. And there's also no green options, it's just red, blues, and purples. And even white, I can't even do white because I guess they're supposed to mix for white. So, I don't know. I'm assuming it's somewhere in here because this is where all the colors connect, and that's why there's so much tape, because these wires are so thin that it's like kind of hard to connect them all. So I'm gonna guess that's the issue there. So I guess I'll have to unwrap that and maybe fix that. But it's looking pretty good, dude. That looks sick. I still have to lower it down, of course. I'm just gonna do that now, actually. Nice. Wow, that looks way better lowered. Damn. Oh my gosh, dude, that's amazing. I mean, wow, dude, I'm like genuinely amazed at like how good this looks. And I just, ignoring all the little issues, like you can't even see the little issues. Like this looks crazy good in my opinion. I'm super, super happy with this. Oh, dude, that thing looks like it's gonna murder me. Bro, that's sick. I'm super, super happy with this. So a few things, I went ahead and painted these center caps black. Before it was the red with like the Albanian flag, which was really weird. And there's not a single reason on the planet that I would need the Albanian flag on my wheels. The other thing is, when I was screwing in this bolt here on the top corner, my rivet on the inside twists, so it broke pretty much. It's still tightened down, but it's loose in there. And I still think it'll be like functional, but I'm gonna need to, I'll have to take the bumper off eventually anyway. So I think when I do that, I will have to reinforce that nut in there. I think this is how it's gonna look for the meet. I'd say I accomplished my goal of having the front end put on by the 5th. Tomorrow morning, I will take it out and just wash it real quick. Give it a good wipe down, and I think we'll be ready. Another little annoying thing though is for the remote, the sensor is like right here, and you have to be pretty much right there to do it. So if I'm like right here, where is it? There, it's like right in here. Yeah, so I pretty much have to have the remote right in this crack, which really, that blows. But I mean, I did choose the cheapest remote. I didn't go with the Bluetooth one because people said that if you were connected to the app for the colors, you couldn't also connect to like your car for music. So I didn't want that. And the only other options were just bigger controllers with more options, which I didn't care for. So kind of sucks. What I'd like to have would be like a wired control panel inside, so it's not a remote, it's just wired on the inside. But you know, this will do for now. I'm not too picky at this moment. It's still in the very early stages of the build, so I will deal with it for now. So actually it turns out that one of the more expensive controller options was actually what I just mentioned, was a controller and then a box I could put on the inside of the car to control it from the inside. I guess at the time I just didn't realize that, or I didn't think that that would be needed. And I'm thinking as far as mounting it, it'd probably be best to have it like in the center console here, maybe like screwed to the side here with the buttons facing up, just so it's more like tucked away in there, because otherwise I'm not sure where the best place to put it would be on the inside. Like otherwise it'd be like out here or something, but I don't really want to put anything where I'm going to be sitting. So I think putting the control box inside the center console would work best for that. But yeah, down the line I'll end up getting that, installing that, and then I can tidy up the wiring in the engine bay a little better, since the wiring will be rerouted through the firewall into the actual inside of the car. All the wiring will pretty much get moved around a bit. But I think I'm gonna call it there for episode 3 of the build. If you made it this far, thanks for hanging out. Hopefully someone learned something new, and if there's anyone that's wanting to do these headlights themselves, it's definitely worth the savings doing it yourself compared to having them pre-assembled and then ordering them. But I'm definitely happy with how they turned out. So I'll see you guys next time. Adios.